Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. Alhamdulillah, welcome all to our class on questions and answers on Islamic Creed. We'll be resuming our class from the week prior. Last week I was part of an engagement, so we didn't have class last week, so we're resuming where we left off, inshallah, before that. Okay, but before we move on, we're just going to do a little review. So I'm going to ask you, excuse me, a couple review questions. First, what's the name of the book that we're covering?
I have to go back and look at the title.
Okay. The name of the book is the Jewels of the Theologians in Light of the Islamic Creed. All right.
Uh-huh.
All right. So I ain't gonna trouble you with it right now, but in future we got to be able to run this stuff off because right now you're the only one here. All right.
Yeah.
So the name of the book is Al-Jawahir al-Kalamiyyah fi Idah al-Aqidah al-Islamiyyah, which is translated as the Jewel of the Theologians in Light of the Islamic Creed. And it is a book that's covering the what is necessary to know about the Islamic Creed. And the book is in question and answer form that the sheikh of the book, he took he's extracted the questions that he had in some of his durus and put in the book form. You remember how many questions it was in this book? How many questions total was on this book that we're covering?
I know we got to question number 9.
No, I know how many we cover. I'm talking about how many does the book cover total?
I want to say the book covers about it's 32 or 33.
No, 102 questions.
Okay.
There's 102 questions that we're covering in this book.
Okay.
All right. So then we need to know the book of the name of the book, the name of the author. You remember the name of the author?
Yes, the name of the brother who wrote the book. His name is al-Jazairi.
Yes. I was looking for more than that, but that I'm gonna let you slide with that one.
All right. Mashallah.
It's Sheikh Tahir bin Muhammad al-Jazairi al-Dimashqi. All right.
Okay.
And he was born in 1852 current era, and he died in 1920. So he's a recent scholar. He's a very famous scholar. He authored over 35 books. Most of them are still in manuscript form in various sciences. And he was a member of the Arabic Academy of Damascus, and he was the director of the Dhahiriyya Library. The Dhahiriyya Library is famous for having a lot of ancient manuscripts that only it's a library for scholars. So it's a library for scholarly research. All right. So, and then the translator of this book is Maulana Hafidhur Rahman Fatul Muhammad. He was born in Holland. He graduated from the Jamiatul Ilm wa Huda in the UK. And then he also trained as a mufti in South Africa with Mufti Ibrahim Desai and Mufti Hussein Kadodia. These are current modern day scholars. And the training of the mufti is that he is presented with cases and he has to be able to reference the fatwa that exists already with respect to the case, So
Yes,
they sit with qualified muftis already when they get the training, and they find out what is necessary to know about the situation. They research all of the fatwa available, and then they refer, they give you the relative fatwa according to their school. So this Sheikh Mufti Ibrahim Desai, you can find them online. They're Hanafi ulama, but they're Ahl Sunnah, so we take from them anyway.
Yes, sir.
So, and we mentioned, do you remember what we mentioned? What's the level of the mufti?
Oh, the mufti is the judge. He's like the one who gives legal rulings.
Yeah, a little more precise is that he is a mufti. Basically, depending on what level he is, the basic level of the mufti is that he is qualified to pass on rulings that have already proceeded. So, in the instance of the translator of this work, he sat with muftis who train him. When they present cases to him, he has to find a fatwa that's already proceeded according to the particular case. So that's at the basic level. And as we mentioned in the week prior, that a mufti is basically above us as the awam, as the general folk, you know, as the general folk, So one thing we shouldn't be not to undermine the role of the mufti because it's very important, but sometimes we get into titles, or some people will get into titles and they think, okay, if such and such is a mufti, then they think he's you know, like the be all and end all. But in reality, according to the principles of what being a mufti is just a level above us. And that's a great level because, we ain't nowhere. You know what I mean? We ain't nowhere. So that's a great level. But we should put everything in perspective, because we don't want to put people outside of their, outside of their rank.
Yes,
And
sir.
a high level mufti is one who is able to independently deduce the rulings from the Quran and the Sunnah. And we've already had this conversation about people who claim to follow the Quran and Sunnah only or directly or go right to the sources themselves. What they're actually saying is that, they are able to go past scholars who have, exhausted a lot of energy in getting the rulers and stuff to extract, principles from the Quran and the Sunnah. And many of them who say that they don't know Arabic, first of all, and all those kind of things. All right. So we'll quickly review because right now it's just you here, and that's okay. Okay. So we discussed what a mufti was. What does Islamic Creed mean when we say the Islamic Creed?
These are the correct beliefs that every Muslim should know.
Okay. And we use the word often, Aqidah. What does Aqidah mean?
Um,
Give me a linguistic meaning and the Islamic meaning.
Aqidah means creed.
It means creed. So when we talk about what it means according to Islam, it is the beliefs of Ahl Sunnah wa Jama'ah, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is the linguistic meaning of Aqidah? Comes from a word, we mentioned it.
It comes from the word I can't even pronounce this word.
Aqada.
Aqada.
Aqada, Aqidah. What does it mean? What does the word Aqada means?
Oh, to tie, like bond.
Yeah, to tie something with a rope or tie something in a knot or tie a bundle of wood together. So how it relates to the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that all of the beliefs that are necessary for the Muslims to know, they're tied together and they are known as the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So the people of the Sunnah and the Jama'ah, the majority. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. So, and this book is going to cover what is necessary for the person to know who is a Muslim. And when we talk about for the Muslim, when we talk about necessary for what kind of Muslim, what do they have to be?
The layman Muslim.
Yeah, but what makes up the layman Muslim? When he reaches what? What kind of a stage in his life is called what?
Pubescent.
Yeah, that's part of it, but I'm looking for something more specific. Don't worry, we're just reviewing. There's no right or wrong answer,
Okay. When he or she is accountable for their deeds.
Okay, what the word I'm looking for is accountability, like you said, but what's the Arabic word?
I can't remember the term.
Okay, it's mutakallif.
Mutakallif.
Mutakallaf. That's the age of accountability. And for boys, it is when?
Um.
You said pubescent. So what is the signs of being pubescent for a boy?
For a boy, it's when their voice is when their voice deepens, when they're or when or when they're I can't think of the way to express it.
Okay. Well, it's three ways for a boy. The voice is part of it, but when he reaches when he has what do they call it? A nocturnal emission, a wet dream.
Yeah.
A wet dream. What else? The voice comes with this as well.
When hair grows on, when hair starts to grow on the face or the
pubic hairs, pubescent hairs, the nocturnal emission, or another way for a boy.
Another way for a boy. Or when I think those are the only two that I do know of.
Yeah, this one is not as popular, but in case they don't reach those other two stages, the age of 15.
15.
Yes. So whichever one of those appear first, that is when a male reaches this being mukallaf. So he's accountable once he reaches those stages. All right. So either be it a wet dream, presence of pubic hair, which one, that stuff, your voice starts to change and, growth spurts and all that kind of stuff, or the age of 15. So by the age of 15, because they usually, it's usually what, about 11 or 12 for a boy, maybe 13.
Yep.
But by the age of 15, if they haven't had a wet dream or pubic hair, then 15, then they will become mukallaf. All right.
Okay.
And for a female, there's only one.
When she can give birth.
Yeah, when she reaches her cycle, when she has her first cycle. Okay. All right. So that's at the age when a person becomes mukallaf. They're accountable for their actions. They're responsible for this knowledge. And then another thing that we mentioned as a bonus, that this is the time in the person's life when what happens? It's something related to the angels.
Oh, when this is when they start writing down the good and the bad deeds.
Well, the bad deeds, actually, because the good deeds already go on, so this is the mercy of Allah, always giving us a head start. So all of the things before a person becomes mukallaf, it is something that goes on their scale.
Wow.
And then the bad deeds started being recorded once they reach the age of accountability. So, there, like we mentioned, there's a win-win always for the Muslims. So there's no way we should be losing. We could be falling short all the time, but there's, this thing is set up for us to win. So that's when the bad deeds. So, and we also mentioned something else as part of the trivia to see if you remember. What is the difference between mukallaf and mumayyiz?
Mukallaf and mumayyiz.
Yeah, when we said the age of tamyiz is different from the age of when someone is mukallaf. Do you remember we mentioned that term tamyiz?
I don't remember the term.
Okay. All right, no problem. So the tamyiz, or when a person is mumayyiz, it is the age of distinction. So what's the difference between the age of distinction and the age of accountability? What age does one becomes the age of distinction?
The age of distinction.
Yeah, it's a little younger than when.
Yeah. So around about like 8 or 9.
A little earlier than that.
About 5 or 6 years old.
About 7. Some say 5 or 6. About 7 years old is when actually earlier than that, but when a kid really knows that they know right from wrong, when they become independent, they know they can answer their own questions. They can ask their own questions independently, usually around 7 years old,
Mm-hmm.
you know, give or take. So that is the age of tamyiz. So it's a if you think about it, it's really emerged from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because he gives you an advantage in knowing right from wrong very early before you even accountable.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because think
Wow.
of a 7-year-old kid, you know, they're super smart. They know
Yeah.
how to pit the parents against each other. They know how to act out roles. They know how to, you know, plug your heartstrings. They and even younger than that, you know, they be
Yeah.
real smart. They crafty,
Yeah.
you know. They know how to get over. You know, they definitely know what's wrong. They know. And you ever catch a kid when they did something and then they look back at you like
Yes, sir.
they know what's wrong. You know what I mean? And they looking to see what you're going to do about it, you know? So
Okay.
that's amazing.
Yes, sir.
So, so the age of tamyiz is earlier, and you know what we mentioned is that when the Prophet ﷺ, he said when your children reach the age of 7, that you should encourage them to pray, and when they reach 10 and they refuse to do it, then you should beat them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you know, and to counter any arguments about people saying that that's cruel and forcing, no. Imagine a time that the child turns 7, and he had a free range. He or she already learned how to, you know, how to pick you apart at 4 years old. You know what I mean? Now at 7, you encourage them to pray every single day. You encouraging them, you giving them rewarding behavior for when they do it. Every time they, you know, you give them a snack or some type of allowance, and you encouraging them every single day until they reach 10. So by the time they reach 10, if they say they're not going to pray, yes, then they should be beaten and not abused, not put marks on them, but they should be disciplined, you know?
Right.
So you give them, you know what I mean? So you give them every chance in the book, you know? And they, you know, and they have to learn what consequences are early, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Inshallah. All right, so that's the difference between tamyiz and mutakallif. All right? So we said Islam is to testify with the tongue and to believe in the heart. All that which our Prophet Muhammad SAW came with is true and correct. So when we said to testify with the tongue and believe in the heart, we said these should be done with through 3 ways. You remember what we said?
Can you repeat the question?
I said we said, what does Islam mean? It's to testify with the tongue and to believe in the heart that all that which our Prophet Muhammad SAW came with is the truth and is correct. Now, when we say to testify with the tongue and to believe in the heart, these 2 things should be done by 3 ways that we mentioned.
Testify with the tongue. And
okay, if you believe in your heart in Islam, it should be done with what?
Sincerity.
Yes, sincerity or ikhlas, that's one.
Sincerity, conviction.
Certainty, yaqeen. And one more. I'll give you the English one, confirmation.
Confirmation. I don't even know the term for that word.
That's okay. Tasdeeq. So tasdeeq. When we enter into Islam, it should be done with ikhlas, sincerity, tasdeeq, confirmation, and yaqeen, certainty. So that's the confirmation is in the heart with tasdeeq, with sincerity, ikhlas, and the utterance on the tongue should be with sincerity. Also with those 2 other things. All right. Okay. And we say Islam also means something else. Islam means istislam. What does istislam mean?
Istislam. Istislam. I should have went over my notes more. Kindly.
Now I caught you off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the goal of this class is that we're going to review every week, because we want to make sure we got this down, because what I want the students to do is to be able to, run this off orally, and just know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? So, so you could be able to know what somebody asks, when you talk to people about Islam, you can be able to tell them stuff without no notes. We off the dome with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta rehearse it. We gotta get like Black Thought, man.
Right.
You gotta drop some bars wherever we at. You know what I mean? Because we ready.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Islam
means to surrender. So Islam we usually means to submit. Islam means istislam, to surrender, to yield, to give your free will over to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right. Okay. And so then after that, the foundations of the creed are 6. We should know. We know the 5 pillars and the 6 articles. All right.
Yes, sir.
I ain't gonna drill you on that. I know you know that. Okay. Okay. 8. So we said, and this is question number 4. We believe, what is our general belief in Allah? That we believe that He is endowed with the qualities of perfection and is free and pure from all types of deficiencies. Okay, we mentioned a word here that starts with a T. When we talk about Allah's perfection, that a word that it means complete transcendence. Remember the word we use?
I don't remember the word.
Okay, the word is tanzih.
Tanzih.
Tanzih. Tanzih. And that is complete transcendence, or affirm in the absolute and emphatic terms that there is no similitude between Allah and His creation. So when we discuss these attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or His essence, we always intend tanzih, that He is completely transcendent from any created thing. So that is the goal of knowing these attributes in detail, and why that the person who is mukallaf needs to know these things, because these attributes that we're covering is what makes Allah who He is. Okay. It's what makes Allah absolutely who He is. And when we say the term subhanallah, what does subhanallah mean?
It means glory to Allah.
It means glory be to Him. And the other definition we gave is that He said that Allah is free from any imperfections. He is free from any imperfections. Okay. So now in this book, the first part, we're covering the 13 necessary attributes for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is obligatory for the one that we said is mukallaf. And these attributes that we know for Allah, that they are wajib, they are mustahil, and yajuz. So what is the meaning of wajib?
Well, which means like mandatory.
Yes, means rationally necessary. That these attributes that we could cover, they are absolutely necessary for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then they are also mustahil.
And mustahil means like
mustahil means that some of these, or the opposites of these attributes that we're going to discover as wajib, that they are impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For instance, we cannot imagine that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the opposite of His existence, it is rationally impossible for Allah to be attributed with non-existence, as an example. All right. Yes. And then some of these attributes, they are yajuz, that these attributes are going to fall in these 3 categories. Wajib, absolutely necessary. Mustahil is rationally impossible, and yajuz is possible. All right. So they are going to fall in one of these 3 categories. Now, there's a sentence that we covered a couple weeks ago concerning the attributes of Allah. And I'll give you a hint. It says the blank of them is inconceivable, and the blank of them are impossible.
The blink of them are inconceivable, and the blink of them are impossible. Mm. Blink of them inconceivable. Blink of them are impossible. Mm.
Okay, I'll give you the first one. The absence of them is inconceivable, these attributes.
Mm-hmm.
And the blank of them are impossible.
The absence of them are inconceivable. The blink of them are impossible. I'm trying to catch the term, and it's just not registering.
Oh, that's okay. So the absence of these attributes is inconceivable. For instance, we cannot, these necessary attributes for Allah, we cannot conceive that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is absent of having an eternal beginning or an eternal end or existence. All right. And the opposite of them are impossible. Like we mentioned, it is impossible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever is attributed with non-existence, or the opposite of life, which is death, or the opposite of independence is being dependent on something. Mm-hmm. So the absence of these attributes is inconceivable for Allah, and the opposite of them are impossible for Allah. Mm. All right. So that's a phrase that we're going to need to remember, inshallah. Okay. And the first attribute we said is existence. You remember what existence is?
Existence. Oh, yeah, the term.
Yeah, the first necessary attribute for Allah is existence. In Arabic, it's called what?
Word for existence.
Okay, the first attribute is that's necessary for Allah is wujud, is existence. All right. And this is existence that does not depend on any type of entity or any type of being or any type of circumstance. All right. Okay. So remember, the first part of this book, we're covering the necessary attributes for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The attributes that we believe for Allah that are absolutely necessary for him to be who he is. All right.
Okay.
All right. So the first one is wujud. The second one is al-Qidam. You know what al-Qidam is?
Al-Qidam. Pre-eternity?
Yes, pre-eternity, good. Or existence without a beginning. All right. Okay. So we got al-Wujud and we got al-Qidam, or pre-eternity or existence without a beginning. The third one is al-Baqa. What is al-Baqa?
Infinity.
Yes, infinity, everlastingness, or non-ending existence, or enduring without an end, everlasting without an end. All right. So okay. all of those are good. So we got al-Wujud, al-Qidam, al-Baqa, and then we have al-Mukhalafa lil-Hawadith. What is the meaning of Mukhalafa lil-Hawadith?
Absolute dissimilarity from all contingent beings.
Okay, yes. All events, creatures, creation, or all things that have a beginning. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's three categories that we mentioned, that he is al-Mukhalafa lil-Hawadith in three aspects. All right, I'll say the Arabic words, see if you can remember what they mean. And his that, his sifat, and his af'al. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this attribute is in these three categories for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His that, his sifat, and his af'al. That Allah is totally non-resembling anything in his that. What is his that?
That, which would mean essence.
Yeah, the essence or the self of Allah.
Okay.
And his sifat, He is absolutely non-resembling anything. What's his sifat?
His sifat would be attributes.
His attributes, his qualities, or his descriptions. That he is absolutely non-resemblance to anything, and all of these are in the absolute sense.
Mm-hmm.
And his actions, his af'al. Oh, I gave the answer. His actions, his af'al. All right. So mukhalafa lil hawadib. So we got wujud, al-kidam, al-baqa, al-mukhalafa lil hawadib. And then when we said we mentioned a couple of things when we talk about this attribute is very important. Mukhalafa lil hawadib. There's a couple of phrases that you should remember that's very important.
Okay.
I'll give you a lead on one. Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is blank from it.
He is excused from being that or anything that's similar.
Yeah, he's different from it. Whatever you can imagine in your mind about Allah, he is different from it. All right. And then we had another one. It says, do not attempt to imagine the self of Allah. This is profound too. Like, when we get further in the discussion, do not attempt to imagine the self of Allah, because this is where a lot of these deviant groups and some of those beliefs we're going to cover, they have done this. And some of them don't realize that they've done it, And some of them have done it deliberately, because of a belief that they have, which is alien to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So we're going to cover it, inshallah. Okay. Now, this last one, I'm going to give you this, but you got to tell me who said it. Your inability to comprehend Allah is your comprehension of him.
Sayyidina Abu Bakr.
As-Siddiq. Now, that's profound, man. Your inability to comprehend Allah is your comprehension of him. Because if you think about it, our only really existence in this world is to try to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in reality, from what we know, we'll never be able to do it because we can't comprehend it, in reality who he is. And it's not a mystery because he gives us all of the signs that are evident in creation. We know who he is, we know what he does, but his essence is so it's something else that that's why you got to submit, because you can't get it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind, man. That's remarkable. All right. So the next one, okay, let's see. Okay. Then the next one we covered the ayat, and this is where we left off at. Laysa kamithlihi shay. Okay, what does that mean?
Laysa kamithlihi shay.
Yeah.
There is nothing likened to Allah.
Okay. All right. So where is that? This is an ayah in the Quran. Where is it found?
That's the question.
Huh?
That is the question that I know I don't know.
It's Surah Ashura, Surah 42, ayat 11.
Surah Ashura.
Yeah, Surah 42, ayat 11. Laysa kamithlihi shay.
Ayat 11.
So as part of it, it's not the whole ayat, it's part of an ayat. Laysa kamithlihi shay. All right, so that's what we left off last week. So in the translation that it says there is nothing like unto him, and the translation that probably fits it better is there is not a thing that resembles his likeness. So if nothing resembles his likeness, how can anything at all resemble him? So how could someone, take something out of creation and say that this is God? So for people who worship statues and idols, or even make turn men into deifying men, there is nothing that we can imagine that's like his likeness or similar to him. How about him himself? You can't. It's something that's rationally impossible to even assume some type of imagination about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we broke down the ayat. Laysa means not for negation. The ka or the particle ka is used for resemblance. The mithlihi, his example or his instance, and a thing, shay'un. Laysa ka mithlihi shay'un. There is nothing that resembles his likeness. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I think that's where we left off last week. So we'll go to the screen now. You'll have a fair chance because you'll be able to you'll be able to check some of these notes out.
Okay.
All right. Let me know if you can see this.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah, how you doing, sis?
I'm all right. I'm in the car driving.
Okay, you delinquent.
I know I was late. That's one demerit.
No, this is monetary around here. You got to pay some dough. I put my cash app in the.
Oh my gosh. I can
No,
still hear you, but I'm gonna turn the camera off because my phone be acting crazy.
Okay, no worries, no worries.
All right, but I can hear everything you say.
Okay, you actually came in right on time because now we're covering the part from today. We just kind of reviewed, and every week we'll review, questions and stuff like that because the goal of this is not necessarily to just go through the book to make sure we have the understanding, So I'm not really pressed for no time limit to complete it. I mean, of course we complete it, but as we go through, make sure everybody understands it so that we can have a working knowledge of the book and be able to present it, even if the book is not with us,
Okay.
All right. So last week we stopped at question number 13 in the book. So I'll read it. It says, "What is our belief?" Can y'all see that screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So it says, "What is our belief regarding Allah being self-subsistent?" So the screen, the ayah, the attribute that we're covering now is al-Qiyam binafsi. So in question 13 in the book, what is our belief regarding Allah being self-subsistent? We believe that Allah, pure and exalted as He, is not in need of anything. He is not in need of replace, nor is He in need of any space, nor is He in need of anything of the creation. He is independent of everything, and everything is dependent on Him. All right. So this is what Qiyamu binafs means. All right. That Allah is self-subsistent, non-neediness of others, having no need of location or specification. And this is something as we go further, we're going to cover because, we mentioned briefly a couple weeks ago about, this whole thing about being above the throne. Everybody heard about this. And, there are people who say Allah is above the throne, and how He is above the throne, we don't know. But people establish what they're saying is that He is literally above the throne. Have you heard this?
Yes.
Yeah, this is something very popular with people, and at least in our region. But this is not the belief of Ahl Sunnah. We're going to cover that, inshallah. And going forward. All right, so we covered so far. Sister, your attribute is Felicia. Is there an attribute you have, sis, that you want us to call you by?
You can call me Felicia.
Okay, Sister Felicia. So basically, we covered up until where we last week. The necessary attributes for Allah. So we covered al-wujud, which is existence, al-qidam, which is pre-existing without a beginning, al-baqa, which is everlastingness without an end, al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith, which is absolute dissimilarity to created things or events. And then this next one is al-qiyam binafsi, that Allah is He is self-subsisting in Himself. He is independent in and of Himself. That's the translation that we use. That He is not in need of anything or anybody for His existence. All right, and it's unlike us that we need something. We dependent on something at some point in our lives to exist. So, all right, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So clear.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, you still can see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
so the next question is, what is our belief regarding the life of Allah? Al-Hayah. We believe that Allah is alive and that his life is not like our life, because our life is based on means such as flowing of blood and breathing, but the life of Allah is not through any means. His life is pre-eternal and remaining in such a way that non-existence and change does not befall him. So al-Hayah, the meaning of this necessary attribute that we must know, is life without a beginning, alive without a beginning or end, or without a body or a soul. And this is very important to know the stuff that we mentioned a couple weeks ago, that the traditional covering of Aqidah in Islam covers all aspects of Aqidah. So there's, because if we believe as Muslims that this is the true way and our belief is the only really belief, then it has to cover all types of aspects throughout the worldly life. So we are supposed to be able to address atheists. We are supposed to be able to address people who deny Allah's existence and all of those things. And we should be able to cover it rationally with rational arguments based on the Quran and the Sunnah. And also other things when you get into science about how the science of Kalam was built. The science of really getting into theoretical discussions about belief so that we can make sure that people know what it means to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because, we believe that we have the correct belief, right?
Yes, sir.
And we have to be able to defend it and stand on it, and we have to be able to explain it, and it has to be able to put any other beliefs it should be tested against any other beliefs, and it can overwhelm those other beliefs. But we just have to know how to explain it, All right. So right now we're finishing covering the 13 necessary attributes that we cover in this book. So the next one is al-Hayah, which is life without a beginning or an end, without a body or a soul. All right. So question number 15. Does anybody want to read, or you want me to do it?
I'll read.
Yeah. Question number 15 in the book.
Okay. What is our belief regarding the oneness of Allah? We believe that Allah is one. He has no partner, no equal, no equivalent, no opposite, and no resistance.
Okay. So this attribute, the oneness of Allah is called al-Wahdaniyah. Al-Wahdaniyah. Wahdaniyah. I'm going over them now because it's how the book, but in the next section of the book, we're going to cover all these in detail, but I'm going to make sure that you know all of them before we go, continue on. All right. Okay. Because it's going to be important. Remember, we said that these are necessary attributes that you have to know. So we're going to memorize them together. And then because the next session of the book is going to cover the opposites of them that we also have to memorize. All right. Okay. So we said Wahdaniyah is absolute oneness in his that, his sifat, and his af'al. All right. So in absolute oneness in his that. Sister Felicia, what is Allah's that? What does that mean?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh your goodness.
I'm not even in no position to even give you the answer.
You're delinquent and you're unprepared. Ooh, that penalty is going to be.
I am really today because I just got finished shopping. But I still made the class though.
Alhamdulillah, I appreciate it. But there's going to be a hefty penalty. I'm going to get some Father's Day gift today, boy. The money you're going to pay.
Yeah, you got to get something. I'm so sorry, but I was so determined
no worries.
to the class today.
No, I appreciate you coming. No worries. I'm just joking. Alhamdulillah, we're glad you're here. So absolute oneness, al-Wahdaniyah, is absolute oneness in his that, which is his essence, his sifat, his descriptions, and his af'al, his actions. And oneness as in not composed of parts nor is counted. So we don't mean oneness and then there's like a two-ness, all right? So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his Wahdaniyah is absolute oneness, or we could say his uniqueness, all right? His uniqueness. Allah is totally unique. And if you notice, when you study these traditional ways of how to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, many times we learn that Tawheed is the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and it is. But before Tawheed, before you can believe that Allah is one, you have to believe what?
You have to believe that he exists.
Exactly. Ahsan, good. So before the oneness can be discussed, you have to come to the terms that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he exists. Because as we mentioned, there are people that don't believe that Allah exists, that there is no God. You know, all of this just happened to come into existence just, you know, by whatever theory that they say, and that it has no divine creator. All right.
Yes, sir.
So far we got al-wujud, which is existence. Al-kidam is pre-existing without a beginning. Al-baqa is everlastingness. Then we have al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith, which is non-neediness of others or complete dissimilarity. Then we have al-qiyam bi nafsi, that Allah is completely independent of anything. And then that's where we at, right?
Yeah.
Qiyam bi nafsi. All right. So the next one is number 16 in the book. I believe regarding the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anybody, you want to read that one, Sister Felicia, or are you still out and about?
No, I'm not still out and about. I just ran upstairs.
Okay.
Okay, so number 16, what is our belief regarding the knowledge of Allah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we believe that Allah is attributed with the quality of knowledge. Attributed, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
With the quality of knowledge, and that he is all-knowing. He knows all that is visible and all that is concealed. The amounts of grains and of sand, the amount of raindrops, leaves on a tree. He knows what is secret, and he knows what is hidden. Secrets are not concealed from him. His knowledge is not acquired, and he knows all things of his internal knowledge before their existence.
Yeah, so this establishes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how his knowledge is different. And then this attribute is called al-ilm. And here we put perfect and absolute knowledge of all things, including, go ahead, I'm sorry, you had something?
Oh, no, I was trying to make the screen bigger.
Oh, Kareem, you was going to say something? I sound like somebody was going to say something.
Oh, no.
Okay, so al-ilm, this attribute of Allah that is necessary for us to know, that is perfect and absolute knowledge of all things, including what must be, what has been, what is now, what will be, what could be, and what could have been had he willed it to be, and what can't ever be.
Okay.
We're talking about, you know, now it's interesting that the Sheikh mentioned in his question and answer, he said that the amounts of the grains of sand, amounts of raindrops and leaves on the tree. Now, with all of this technology and supercomputers, they will never, ever, ever be able to do something to find out how many stars in the sky, how many grains of sand there are on all the beaches. Never.
Mm-hmm.
And these are things that were easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Kun, fayakun. Allah put all of the wonders of the creation in that statement. Kun, be, and everything became. And what we marvel at today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had complete and perfect knowledge of how everything would develop. There's no reset in Allah's creation. No reset. Look, these people, they got to try to do it over. They got to fix something, you know. Allah made everything exactly as it is in a perfect manner for whatever purpose he made it for, just by kun fayakun. That's, you know, subhanAllah, man. That's remarkable. All right, so that's what we should understand about Allah's perfect knowledge, that it is of all things. All right. You see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. The next one, okay. Question number 17. Who wants to read that one?
I'll read it, inshallah.
Okay.
What is our belief regarding the omnipotence of Allah? We believe that omnipotence of Allah. We believe that Allah is attributed with omnipotence and that he has power over everything.
Okay.
Al-Qudra.
Yeah, al-Qudra. Okay, so al-Qudra is omnipotence or absolute ability. All right, or complete and perfect absolute power and ability. Allah's power relates to the things that are intellectually possible and not to things that are rationally possible. So here I put this example that you hear some of these philosophers ask. Can you see it on this PowerPoint? Can God create a rock so heavy that he cannot lift it?
Yes.
Have you heard this before?
Yeah.
And what's interesting because
Or something similar. Yeah.
yeah, or Muslim asked me this. I think he was in class, and he was asking me how should he answer it. So the way to answer is that this is an intellectual and rational impossibility. It is absurd to even ask this question.
Right.
It is like, can Allah create a square circle? A square circle doesn't make any sense. It's rationally impossible. A square is a square, and a circle is a circle, and Allah created both of them. So don't ask if he could create a square circle, because if he could have, he would have, because you know what I mean? And he didn't, so it don't exist. So what are you doing? So can this Allah creating a rock so heavy that he cannot lift it? Lifting and moving and things like that do not apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this question is invalid.
Right.
Allah create a rock so heavy that we understand it is so heavy for us to live it. Imagine we don't attribute lifting things and moving to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is intellectually and rationally impossible to even ask the question. So if you ever hear that question, just dismiss the person.
Right.
Don't even get into it, because it makes no sense. But Allah has absolute qudra. And this is one of the attributes that we mentioned, some of the attributes that we share with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not sharing like partners with him, that some things in our existence, we understand what having ability is, but it's unlike Allah's ability. We have the ability, you can get up, you can walk away from this computer, you can go outside, you can do this and all of that, but it's not like Allah's ability. Allah's ability doesn't require any effort. It doesn't require any response to anything. So when we understand all these attributes, how they go together, inshallah. So that's what we got for this Allah's qudra. So far we got al-wujud, existence, al-qidam, is pre-existing without a beginning, al-baqa, is everlastingness without an end, al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith, is absolute dissimilarity to created things and events, al-qiyam binafsihi is complete independence, al-haya is life, al-ilm is knowledge, and al-qudra is omnipotence or complete ability. All right.
Can you
any questions so far?
Yeah, can you repeat those terms and the definitions while I write them down real quick?
No, I'm going to send you the notes to this PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. I'll do that.
Yeah,
I was late
because this PowerPoint is kind of ongoing, so I'm adding it to as I go, and then it'll be complete. And then once we finish the class, you have the PowerPoint and the book and what we just discussed. All right.
Okay.
So I'm just doing it right now just to give you a listening of because we MCs, man, we got to go off the top.
Yes,
we can't read off the phone and off the book. Right? You're a true MC, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can't be doing Method Man with Black Thought. We got to come off the dome, man.
Yeah, there's no phone. There's no phone here.
No phones here. No phones. All right. We gotta be like those number runners back in the day. They had all those numbers in their head. No paper slips.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What's Indian Archie?
I'm sorry, sis. I gotta say stuff according to how I understand it.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm
okay. Alhamdulillah. So we covered al-qudra, which is ability. All right. So the next one is question number 18 in the book. Who wants to read it?
I'll read it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to make the screen bigger. I'm on my phone. It's so tiny.
Oh, mashallah.
Everything that Allah willed.
In the book. Read the question and answer. And you got your book with you?
I don't. I'm delinquent today.
Oh, man. Hefty finds the day. All right. So I'll read it. What is our belief in relation to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We believe that Allah the Exalted is attributed with will, and what he wants does not take place except with him willing it. Whatever he wills transpires, and whatever he does not will, it is not possible for it to take place. All right. So I got here in question number 18, the notes. At this point right here, I stopped typing the whole question and answer. I just typed question and with the notes that I want you to take from it. So in the previous slides, you notice I typed the whole thing, but that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So I from here on out, there's only a couple attributes that I'm going to put the question in here and then my notes here in the PowerPoint, but it'll be based on the question in your book. So we're talking about irada, which is divine will. So irada is everything that Allah willed in the eternity for it to exist, and it must come into existence at the time which Allah willed for it to exist, and nothing will exist unless Allah willed it to exist. That he determines the possible existence or non-existence of something, its independence or its dependence, its knowledge or its ignorance, its good or evil. In other words, everything. And whatever Allah willed to be shall be, and whatever he does, I missed that part. Whatever he doesn't will to be will not be. I got to fix that. And then we have the ayah in Surah Takwir, Surah 81, ayah 29, excuse me. And you do not will except that Allah wills. So here's an indication that even though you have ability for irada to will something, it will not surpass Allah's divine will. So, you know, to understand is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he gives us a little bit of qudra that we can have ability to do something, that he doesn't compel us to depend. He doesn't compel us that, you know, he does everything for us. He gives us the ability to do something. He gives us the ability to will something, you know, and this is a reality. Like if you will something into being or you speak something into existence, it can come into existence, but only by Allah's will. So your will never surpass his divine will. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So you do have a will to do things. You know, if you have a desire, you have a drive, you have an ambition, you know, Allah put that in you to go pursue it. But if he willed it to be, it will be. And if it doesn't will to be, no matter how much you will will it, if he didn't will it to be, it won't be. You know? And so we always use this phrase here, inshallah. So I didn't have time. I like to do these PowerPoints where you had to fly in and all the different animated things. I didn't have time to do all that, but I was supposed to have this fly in and, you know, but inshallah is a phrase we use all the time. And what it means if Allah wills, or we say God willing. But actually in Arabic, it means inshallah. In is a particle, which means a conditional, something that's conditional. And sha is the past tense of sha, to will something. And Allah, if Allah wills something. But technically it means if Allah has willed it already, then it will be. So sometimes we say inshallah in the future, but it's actually something that's already been willed. You understand?
Okay. Incorrectly the whole time.
No, it's not incorrectly, but just give you a deeper understanding. So next time you say inshallah, have in your mind, if Allah willed this already, yes, I will be there. Or I will do such and such. But not in the future tense. This is because Allah willed everything to be already. So we're just acting out what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in motion. So if he willed it, and if he gives me the will to do it, then I will do it. So this is interesting because it's the verb is in the past tense. So it's a conditional thing, you know. So we should actually we should do things and then say inshallah sometimes. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You should move out inshallah. And if Allah has willed it already, it will come to pass. But use your will to do your thing, to follow up your ambitions, to pursue your goals, inshallah. If Allah, I'm going to sign up for school, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be an engineer. And if Allah has willed it already, I'm going to complete it. But in my ability that I have, I'm going to do my part. And I don't know if Allah has willed it or not. But if he did will it, it will come to fit. It will come.
Now
if
that
he
makes
didn't will
sense.
it won't come, no matter how much we pursue it. And sometimes these things may be for good or evil or whatever reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, think about things that happen in our life that we weren't able to complete. And it wasn't necessarily because we were failures or it may be that Allah didn't will for it to happen for whatever reason.
Okay.
You know? Just don't dwell on it too much, because Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu told us our inability to comprehend Allah is our comprehension. Our inability to understand Allah's irada is our understanding, because these things can overwhelm people if you get too deep into it.
Yeah.
You know, because you can lead to depression. It can lead to all types of things. Man, I tried to do it and Allah didn't will it. Don't beat yourself up over it. If you gave it your full effort, you put your full will into it, and it didn't happen, Allah didn't mean for it to happen. And it could be for whatever reason. Don't dwell on it. Just know it didn't happen because He didn't will it to happen. Because if He willed it to happen, it would have barely happened. Nothing happens in this. We don't believe in coincidences. We don't believe in coincidences. All right. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the next one is number 19. He is attributed with Asamu. All right. Can anybody read number 19?
Sure. As-sam'u, hearing.
No, in the book. In the book.
Oh, question number 19 in the book. Yes. What is our belief regarding the hearing of Allah the Exalted? We believe that Allah, pure and exalted is He, is attributed with the quality of hearing, and that He hears all inaudible or audible sounds. However, the hearing of Allah, pure and exalted is He, is not like our hearing, because our hearing is through the means of our ears. And the hearing of Allah, pure as He, is not through any means. Subhanallah. Wow.
Yeah, so
that's beautiful.
Now when you think about, that is, because this is not something that we can comprehend. We only know hearing by way of, you have to hear a sound. It has to be a pitch. It has to be a distance. If somebody could be down the street saying something, but if you're not within the range, you won't be able to hear them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hearing is not like anything. He hears all audible and inaudible sounds. And we put here in the PowerPoint presentation that His hearing without organs, without modes, without means, without instruments, and without distance. And I know this might seem like common sense, right? But we're going to explore some of the beliefs that people have been promoting about these things, and how we really need to know the difference. All right. All right. So question number 20. Who can read question number 20?
Question number 20 on PowerPoint.
In the book.
I got it. No worries.
Go ahead.
Okay. What is our belief regarding the seen of Allah the Exalted? What we believe, we believe that Allah, pure is He, is attributed with the quality of seeing, and that He is the all-seeing. He sees everything, even a black ant in a dark night, and whatever is smaller than that. Nothing is hidden from His sight on the surface and beneath the earth and above the heavens and whatever is beneath it. However, the seeing of Allah, pure is He, is not like our seeing, because our seeing is through the eyes, and His seeing, pure as He, is not through any means.
No. All right. So here we have again in the PowerPoint, Allah is attributed with al-basar, which is seeing or sight. That He sees all things that are seeable, without pupils, without eyes, without light, without instruments, without distance, etc. Anything that we know, we can imagine of sight. All right. So we have an idea what sight is, and our sight is, depending on weather conditions or other things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sight is nothing like that. So when we say in the attribute that in the ayah that we mentioned in Surah Shura, ayah 11, Laysa kamithlihi shay, right? We only mention that first part. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, wa huwa as-sami'ul basir.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the translation here is he is seeing and he is the hearing and the seeing. Actually, the attribute means there is nothing like unto him while he is the hearing and the seeing. So it's an indication for us to really understand that he is unlike anything and there is nothing like unto him whatsoever. So he is affirming for himself that he hears and sees, but while he does that, it is in no way that you can imagine what hearing and seeing is. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When we see that translation, there is nothing like unto him, and he is the hearing and seeing, it should be there is nothing like unto him while he is the hearing and seeing. So that one word, it has it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was my question just now. I was like, so why do we get the translation so many times with this and?
Yeah, because the word why in Arabic, it can mean and, it can mean something, it can be a conjunction. It has a number of meanings. So this is why translation, a person has to know the Arabic and they have to have a working knowledge of English. So this is why you won't really get the full grasp of the Quran if you read it in English. So see, these are some subtleties that you just have to know Arabic, to kind of understand it. All right.
Okay.
But what it's really saying is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you that he has these attributes of hearing and seeing. And while he does that, it's nothing like that, because we as humans in creation, we have an understanding what hearing and seeing is. This is part of our senses. As a matter of fact, this is how we know the creation, through our senses. We don't know anything without our senses except that it's something supernatural or something might be odd. But the only thing that we can learn knowledge is through our senses. See, hear, taste, touch, and smell, right? We cannot understand anything in the creation without them. You know what I'm saying? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that what we understand as hearing and seeing is not like what he does. All right. So it's just a affirmation of how he is totally dissimilar from anything that we can imagine. All right. So the next question is question 21, and this will be the last one we cover today. Read it in the book, inshallah.
Okay. Question 21. Yeah. What is our belief regarding the speech of Allah, the Exalted? We believe that Allah, pure as He, is attributed with the quality of speech, and that His speech does not resemble our speech. Our speech is created within us through the means of our mouth, tongue, and lips. The speech of Allah, pure and exalted as He, is not like that.
Okay. So here we go. This is going to be the last screen we cover today, inshallah. So the attribute that we say is al-Kalam, which is the speech of Allah. It is an eternal attribute that's spoken without letters, sounds, languages, organs, or instruments. So how do we understand the ayat where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, wa kallamallahu Musa takliman? And Surah Nisa, ayat 164, that Allah spoke to Moses directly with speech. How do we understand that? Because this is going to counter some people when we discuss further in the book about people who have said that all of Allah's attributes are the same. That they're all literal. So what they mean by that is that Allah has a literal attribute of speaking, and they say that he speaks, but we just don't know how. But they are implying with letters, sounds, and language and all that kind of stuff. So Allah spoke to Musa alayhi salam, without any mediation. And one of the understandings is that he created Prophet Musa with a special ability to hear the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how he heard it. So it wasn't one in this ayat. It wasn't a language. It wasn't sounds. It wasn't letters, because these are created things. And this is actually a big argument from the time of the Salaf about the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being created or uncreated. All right, that's beyond the scope of this class, because it's a real detailed argument. All right, but we're not covering. But at the end here on this PowerPoint, I put kalam is usually applied to the beginningless attribute of Allah, which is present with him, which is present with his being, his that, and it is referred to as his speech. So some of the scholars have interpreted that the Allah's speech, kalam, is alongside with his that, which means it's eternal and it's not like anything that we can comprehend.
Right.
And as such, it's not created. It's not sounds like we know. It's not letters like we know, because all of these things are created. And we believe that Allah's speech is uncreated. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the extent of we'll go here. But that it is a detailed discussion that we will cover in another text, inshallah. So, but it's, this is not for this class. All right. So we got the attributes so far. We got Allah is somebody else joined. Oh no, I put him in. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his first necessary attribute is al-wujud. What does al-wujud mean? Just a review before we close.
His being.
His existence.
Mm-hmm.
All right. His second one is al-qidam. What is al-qidam?
Okay.
If you don't know, it's okay. I'm just seeing where you at.
I remember that one from last week too.
Okay.
What, a week before.
Beginninglessness or pre-existing without a beginning. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The third one is al-baqa. What is al-baqa?
Al-baqa.
It's everlastingness without an end. All right. Enduring without an end. Number 4 is al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith. What is al-mukhalafa lil-hawadith? Allah's absolute dissimilarity from created things, non-neediness or anything like that, all right? He's totally dissimilar to anything that came into existence, all right? Number 5 is al-ilm. Well, no, excuse me. Al-wahdaniyah. What is wahdaniyah? Absolute oneness. Number 6 is al-qiyam bi nafsi. What is that? We just covered it today. It's total independence or non-neediness, right? Al-haya. The law is attributed with, what is al-haya?
The living.
He's attributed with life or living. He is attributed with ilm. What is ilm?
All knowing.
Yeah, he's attributed with knowledge, eternal knowledge. He is attributed with al-qudra. What is qudra?
Al-qudra.
Complete, perfect.
Ability. Omnipotence, they translate it. A complete ability. He is attributed with al-irad or irada. What is irada?
Al-irada
is divine will.
Oh man, I had it right in front of me too.
Divine will. Okay, then he's also attributed with al-sam'u, al-basar, and al-kalam. These are the last 3.
Sam'u is the hearing.
All hearing.
Al-basar is the all seeing.
Or sight. He's attributed with sight, hearing, and he's attributed with kalam.
Speech.
So these are the 13 necessary attributes that they have to know. Who has to know them?
Every individual Muslim.
Every individual Muslim that is what?
That is...
Does a 6-year-old have to know these things?
No.
Does a 3-year-old have to know?
No.
Aren't 3-year-olds and 6-year-olds Muslims?
Yes.
What kind of Muslim we talking about? A Muslim that is what?
Pubescent.
Reaches the age of what is a responsibility or what is called?
You just told me.
Yeah, I did. You got a penalty too, Kareem. You the whole class, man. The one who was mukallaf.
McCullough.
Mukallaf.
I remember
Mukallaf is what? The age of what?
puberty or yeah.
Puberty or responsibility. How is puberty? How do we know when a male or female reaches puberty? For a male is what?
When they grow hair on their facial or their private parts.
Pubic hairs, and two other ways for a male.
The two other ways for a male when they have a wet dream.
Nocturnal emission, or what else?
Nocturnal emission. Or when their voice starts to change.
Yeah, that's part of when they grow pubic hairs. But the other, what else? Age wise, what age?
15. Some say 13 or 14.
Normally, when a boy reaches puberty, it's about 12, 13. But if he doesn't have a wet dream by that before age 15, or he doesn't grow any pubic hairs, then when he reaches age 15, then he is considered mukallaf. All right. Okay. And for a female, it's only one. Felicia, if you don't get this one, you're bad.
I was going to say when she reaches the age of menstruation.
Yeah, when she has her first menstrual cycle, which can be as early as 9 years old in some instances, or even earlier. And once a person becomes mukallaf, they are responsible for the knowledge that we are discussing right now. So all of us, we're way past that. So we're going to have to know these attributes that we mentioned, these 13. And next week, we're going to cover the opposites of them. So next week's class, inshallah, we're going to repeat them so we can know them. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to cover the opposites. All right. Okay. And then we'll have a quiz after that. All right. Because if this is necessary for you to know about the Lord that you worship, it got to be drilled. All right.
Yes.
Because we're going to go into another section of the book after that that's going to get into some detailed stuff. You know, some of the things we're going to explore, like we mentioned, like there's a common theme now that these attributes, all of Allah's attributes are literal. You know, I even heard someone, so-called student of knowledge, say out of his mouth that all of Allah's attributes are the same. So they're saying that when Allah says He's Al-Rahman, Al-Rahim, it is the same as when you talk about these issues of Allah being attributed with eyes and hands and being in a location. They're saying it's all the same, meaning literal. And that is not the belief of Ahlul Sunnah. And we're going to discuss this because, you know, there are people who are promoting these bad beliefs. And we're discussing it because we need to know. We need to know what is true belief and what is faulty. All right. And you know, we got to counter the bamboozlement that we receive. You know, we receive the bamboozlement. You know what I mean? So that's part of this, knowing the book and having working knowledge of it. You know, I'm not holding you to task of knowing the book exactly, but in my students, that I like you to be able, like, if you should be able to run this back to somebody.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for. Your children, relatives, other Muslims that you can teach. That's what I'm looking for. Inshallah. All right. So are there any questions?
Are you going to send the notes to our emails, or how you going to do that?
Yeah, I can send it to your emails, inshallah.
Okay. I'll send it to you. I'll send you
okay.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. Did I send you the book via email, Sister Felicia?
No, Kareem did.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Abdul Kabir, assalamu alaikum. Come on, bro. You don't get just attend the class and not say nothing. You better turn that mic on, man. You know I got administrative powers. I could turn the mic on for you. I might not be there. Okay, so are there any questions?
Nope. So when you send a link out, are you doing it through Facebook or?
Yeah, I put it on our Facebook page, and also for people who have my number, I send it through a text message. But you can find it on the Facebook page.
Okay.
All right. So how did you log in today?
I had to get it from Kareem because it wouldn't pop up on my Facebook stream.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, then I had to re-download the link.
Okay, mashallah. It's usually the same link every week.
Okay.
So, so you can use the one from last week.
Okay.
All right, so I'll send the PowerPoint presentation. Just review those notes. But what I'm looking for next week is to go over those 13 attributes and try to remember how we, sounded them out today. And we'll go over in detail next week, and then we'll start covering the opposites. All right. So before we can go forward, I need to know that you know those.
Okay.
All right. But we'll go them together, inshallah. All right.
Right.
And some of the things that we mentioned. Oh yeah, some of the things that's in the PowerPoint that I'm going to send to you, I'm going to ask you as a pop-up. All right.
Okay.
Just a review, and then before I give you an actual quiz.
Okay.
Is it
All right, because
open
you
book?
remember as you remember when we began, I said that you will be responsible for stuff that's in the presentation, stuff that's in the book, stuff that I write on the board, or stuff that I mentioned that's not in either one of them.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
That means y'all can't be behind the screen sleeping and doing other stuff and checking Instagram. You got to be paying attention.
Is it open book quiz?
No.
Okay.
Oh, this is a closed
But
joint.
before you do the actual quiz, I'm gonna go over everything. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna be on the quiz.
Oh, okay. That's good.
All right. So I don't know how we're gonna. I'm trying to think. Can we do the quiz? Or I think I'm gonna trust y'all to do it online and give you a time, and then submit it while we just waiting.
Okay.
I
Or
think
can
I'm gonna trust y'all. I don't know, man. 'Cause y'all a little funny, acting funny style, man.
What?
Okay,
That's some other ones.
mashallah. All right, so we'll see how it goes because maybe because the week that we missed, kind of some people maybe got thrown off the time or whatever, and I don't know if they're going to show up next week. So we'll see how it goes, but we're still going to continue, inshallah. All right, so
okay.
if there's no questions, inshallah, or any comments or anything, we'll conclude there.
I did have a question though. Like, so most of the time, we always hear how you want to do good because you want your Lord to be pleased with you, and when you do something that's not so good, you don't want his wrath to reach you. But like a lot of the times, we kind of be like, we'll feel like, well, since I did good, now he's happy with me now. And then you do something bad, now he's mad at you. But how can that be when he doesn't like go from happy to sad? Because those are things that we do, right?
Yeah, there's a hadith Qudsi where the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah says, I am as my servant thinks I am. So if you do good, hoping that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you, then you should be confident about that. But at the same time, if you do something bad, thinking Allah will punish you, you shouldn't. You can think that, but know that Allah is inclined to forgive you. He is inclined to forgive you. He's inclined to overlook your faults because of other ayats in the Quran. He says, "My mercy outweighs my wrath." And he says in the ayat that he says, "I am swift in punishment, but I'm also forgiving and merciful." So Allah is more inclined to overlook the things you fall short in than he is to punish you. And if you persist in bad things, knowing that this is something over you, then Allah will punish you. But as a Muslim, the one who serves him and believes in him and worships him, you should be, know that, there's that safety net of forgiveness. There's the safety net of repentance. There's the safety net of istighfar. There's a safety net of following up bad deeds with good deeds. There's a safety net of having remorse of something you do wrong and immediately ask for repentance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his mercy outweighs his wrath. So we, in a sense, we shouldn't even think that Allah is going to punishment, but we should live between the fear that he possibly will. But we should have the feeling that he will forgive us more. And we also shouldn't just rely on that. Just do the best you can because Allah knows. He says, وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. He created man weak. Allah, if we just mention his complete and perfect knowledge, he knows we're going to slip up before we do it. He knows when we have intentions to do right or do bad, or whether it's sincere or not. He has complete knowledge of everything.
Okay.
So it may be that he willed it for you to do something wrong so you can turn to him in repentance.
Allahu Akbar. Wow. And I
mean,
never looked at it that way. That's wow.
Yeah, it could be. You know, it could be that he leads you to some type of wrong that will, you know, that will humiliate you to let you know who Allah is. He is al-Qahar. He is the one. He is irresistible. You can't escape him. You can't escape Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes he will put us in situations for us to realize you can't escape Allah. Okay, you try to be independent. You try to do this on your own. You try to think your way out of it. And Allah is attributed with al-Qiyam bi nafsi. He's the one that's totally independent of anything. You know, something happened to us or something occurred and made us do something where we had to make tawbah for. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reassuring us he is at-Tawwab. He is the one who accepts repentance over and over and over and over again.
Wow.
And we are lowly servants in need of it, always doing something wrong, always doing something counter to what we should, always doing something opposite to what we know is right. Something that's clear as the sun we know we shouldn't do, and yet we do it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there waiting for us to ask for repentance more than anything.
Wow.
Because if he had punished us according to what we deserve, we would have been annihilated already.
A long time ago.
A long time ago. He would have spared us by annihilating us before we did it, if it was by right.
That's true.
If it was by right. But yet he gives us mercy, forgiveness, and you know, so we should always try to, you know, between fear and hope. You know, the believers between fear and hope. We hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and accept our worship, and we fear his punishment and his wrath. So in between that, we do what is according. We go out of our way to do good deeds. We fix our wrongs. We overcome our faults. All of this because we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ultimate goal for us is for him to be pleased with us.
SubhanAllah.
So we just keep working at it. It's a you know, you never reach a plateau. You never reach a pinnacle. You just keep at it, you know. And in the Quran, Allah says that if we didn't commit sins, that he will create a people, he will remove us and create a people who will commit sins and turn to him, and he will forgive them.
Wow.
So, yeah, just, you know, the thing for us, commit sins. No, I'm not saying commit sin. I'm saying when you do them, immediately turn to Allah for forgiveness, you know, and you'll find it vast. All right.
Wow.
So any other questions?
No questions here.
No question.
Okay. Abdul Kabir, you ain't show up yet, man? All right, yeah, that's one of the local brothers. I'll catch him. I'll catch him out.
Yeah, I'm here. Inshallah, I'm getting situated.
Assalamu alaikum, man. Alaykum salam, man. All right, inshallah, I'll catch up with you later, inshallah. All right, so we're in there. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.